Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Parkrose Community United Church of Christ. We're starting on time, so that means a few more people will come in. So leave room for them. There's always room, right? Right. There's always room here. We're glad you're here, and as we gather, we offer respects to the ancestors and descendants of the original people of this land. We invoke their presence, and we welcome everyone as we do each Sunday, whoever you are and wherever you are on life's journey. You are welcome here. I invite you to stand as you're able to join in our opening songs. First, Our God Has Done Great Things for Us. Here I am, Lord, sing.
My hand will say
You can sit back there.
I know, I love it.
Have your hand on it. Did you, lady that always she's just well,
Let's begin a time of prayer with our centering song, Spirit of the Living God, Fall Afresh on Me. Pray together in one voice. Creating God, we are grateful for your continuing presence in our lives. Your grace is offered freely to us, and in return, you expect only the full commitment of our hearts and souls. When we falter and stumble, you are there to help us find our footing once again. When we lose hope, you surprise us with fresh perspectives. When we can't hear your voice, you open our ears to hear your call to love and service. We trust you, O God, to remind us who we are and whose we are. In the silence, come to us again. We respond together. Our ears and eyes are open to new ways of living your love in our world. Invite the young folks to come meet Erica up here at the front while we sing our song.
are we all settled? We're almost settled. Nope. Well, good morning, friends. How's everybody doing? Yeah? Okay, that's awesome. Don, how are you?
I'm good. I'm great.
Yes, me too. I have a question for you, and I have a picture to show you. What is that? Do you have any idea what that is?
The cob of a corn that's worth the cob.
I heard chrysalis. It's very close. Do you know what a praying mantis is?
Yeah.
That is an egg sac.
Is it kind of like a chrysalis?
It's kind of like a chrysalis. There's babies in there. Well, I have a story for you that has to kind of do a little bit with, about our story today here at church. And I'll wait for Katie for 2 seconds. So, I bought one of these. You can buy these in garden centers. It's an egg case of praying mantis. And you're supposed to leave it like in a little jar or something out on your garden, and it's supposed to like open, and these little babies will come out. Well, I had it like for 2 months. And I thought maybe I bought a dud. I was kind of bugged out because I thought I bought a dud in a case. Well, one day, lo and behold, I went out to my garden and looked in my little jar, and and they come out. It's really kind of cool to watch, but they look just like a little tiny adult. They're like a little tiny adult praying mantis. And Travis can attest. Was I excited?
Yes.
I'm going to show everybody and talk about it for these today now. So I was very excited because I was kind of bummed out, and that was a reminder for me because today Don is talking about when we're in troubled times, how we can like have patience and then sing a new song. Because I was singing about those praying mantises, right? Because I almost squished that little lace because I thought it was good, and I'm glad I did. So that taught me something that. When even if you think it's just give it a little more time, have some patience because God is still active, even when we don't think it is. Right? So amen to that. I feel like we're going to have to count some coin up here before we leave today. But I want you to remind yourselves that when you feel like there's times where you're kind of troubled or bummed out, to have a little patience. And things will turn right side up. Okay? Remember that God is always active, even while we're waiting. I know it's not always fun to wait, okay?
It was fun to wait when we had a roller coaster. You guys can have
That's true. Oh, wait, it's not up to us, Dan, it's up to them. So let's say a little prayer. Katie, take a minute, and let's say a little prayer together, okay? All right. Dear God, thank you for this group of wonderful young people. And today's message, I think it's a really good one, and we will always try to keep reminding ourselves to be patient in troubled times, and remember that you're always active. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, guys.
So each of the Sundays we are investigating a different part of what that could mean. This week the theme is where is the United Church of Christ active with immigrants on the border, in Oregon, in Portland, and then what do they do? So in the first slide, this is a part of when at the General Synod meeting, this is the national meeting every 2 years of the United Church of Christ, over 500 delegates and visitors took to the streets, joining more than 100 local activists to rally calling for change in policies that separate immigrant families. In the next slide, you can see the Southwest Conference of the United Church of Christ They are right on the border, and they are routinely providing housing, meals, shelter, transportation, funds for attorneys, and advocacy on both a local and a national basis. At the recent Central Pacific Conference convocation, I sat next to a man who winters in Arizona and participates with a UCC church there in feeding and transportation. He was worried that during the summer months when so many snowbirds returned home, some of the ministries would struggle. There's another, in the next slide, Lights for Liberty was held this last Friday, and it, although it wasn't specifically a United Church of Christ action, involved the Central Pacific Conference's moderator as well as some other pastors. It was a visual to end what are increasingly being called human concentration camps because of what is being exposed about them. In the next slide, the Central Pacific Conference Justice and Witness Ministry has a Facebook page, and that connects you with others and provides news you can use to help direct advocacy. They participate with local congregations, in ecumenical ministries and Emerge and the Innovation Law Lab, and they connect other conferences and the United Church of Christ. Specifically, Lake Oswego UCC did workshops on immigration issues. First Congregational UCC, and we'll hear from them later this summer, had a Close the Camps rally on July 2nd. Clackamas UCC, and if you haven't seen their Facebook page, I would encourage you to look at. They have a signboard that has gone viral in terms of specific statements about what it means to follow Jesus in this world. And it doesn't mean racism, and it doesn't mean, so he says it more positively. Our last slide was drawn by a child in one of the children's jails, separated from family members, as we know, left without food or soap or water or adult caregivers. Other things that can be done were listed recently in a post on the Justice and Witness Ministry team's Facebook page by someone who volunteered in an ICE detention center. So the Center for Human Rights and Constitutional Law, Border Angels, Races, locally the Portland Office of Community and Civic Life, the Portland United Against Hate, and EMO Emerge, and local vigils. On the Money Changers table today, I left two things that talk specifically about them, and most specifically and currently, today is a day that's been announced as a raid to, apparently it was going to be millions, but as we know that often we don't have numbers that jive. Several thousand people who had supposedly gotten deportation notices, and so some things that you can do to act on that, not only today, but on other days as well. So keep thinking about these things and keep looking for these resources.
What's the last thing she said?
This morning, our psalm is Psalm 40, and we're going to try something here. I don't know if you can kind of, from looking at this, get the picture. When the arrow points this way at the top of the page, this side will be. When the arrow points that way, this side will be. And you got to be alert because it's not every single slide that This is a test. I know you can do this. So we'll begin with this side as we read the entirety of Psalm 40 from the Inclusive Bible. Unyielding, I call to you, Yahweh. Now at last you have stooped to me and answered my cry for help. You have pulled me out of the pit of destruction, out of its mud and quicksand. You set my feet on a rock and made my steps firm. You put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to you. Many will look on in wonder, and so will put their trust in you. Happiness comes to those who put their trust in Yahweh, instead of human egos or people blind to the truth. How many wonders you work for us, Yahweh my God. How many plans you made for
secret of your love and faithfulness in the great assembly. For your heart, Yahweh, don't withhold your love from me. Let your kindness and faithfulness constantly protect me.
Thank you, Jesus.
Misfortunes surround me, far more than I can count. My sins entrap me, and I am unable to escape. They outnumber the hairs on my head, and my courage is strained. Hurry, come to my rescue, Yahweh. Be swift to help me. Shame and confusion on all who are out to destroy me. Turn them back and heap disgrace on those who enjoy my misfortune. May they be horrified at their shame. Those who say to me, aha, aha. May there be joy in their lives for all who seek you. May all who love your saving power have constant cause to say, God is great.
Everybody.
Now I am poor and needy. May Yahweh think of me. You are my helper and deliverer. Come swiftly.
Amen. Thank you for being willing to do that. Something about getting your own body, your own vocal cords involved in reading
Yes.
helps us understand a little better what the passage is about. The theme this morning is From Trouble to a New Song. And it's a recurring theme in the Psalms, which help us name our troubles and then look toward a hope in the future, a new song, a big change. I was thinking about this topic, and it came clear to me that many times I'll get a phone call or someone will stop by the church and want to talk. They want to talk to a pastor. And the most common question that they ask is, where can I find God, or how do I know what God is calling me to do? Just recently I had a call that lasted some time with a person really struggling, wanting to know, if I do this particular thing, am I acting against God's will? And through the conversations, in most cases, I usually wind up saying, well, you know, I think it's pretty straightforward. If you can get out of the pit, an image that has been in more than one psalm we've looked at. If you can get out of the pit and look up, God is love and compassion. And as Jesus said, the two greatest commandments are love God, love one another, love our neighbors as ourselves, which is our mission statement. So if we can bounce whatever it is we're considering off of those ideas, those larger ideas, we're much freer to act. We're much more able to do what it is we can best do to share the love, to be compassionate, to love our neighbor as ourselves. And notice that's a two-pronged, a double-edged sword there. Love your neighbor as yourself, which assumes you love yourself first, right? I'm going to love you just like I love me. Hard. It's not easy. It's no wonder people struggle with these things. And I think sadly, when we read the Bible so myopically, just looking at words on a page, we can't possibly understand the larger perspective. And remember, most of the Bible was written at least 2,000 years ago. Much of it was written 3,000 or 4,000 years ago, especially the Old Testament, the Hebrew Bible. So to support that goal of not getting caught up in the minutia, this passage from Psalm 40 is clear. Sacrifices and offerings, it's hard to read. Sacrifice and offering you did not desire. My ears you have opened. Burnt offering and sin offering you have not required.
Right.
All the stuff you do in praising God, all the worship kinds of things, don't count for anything unless you do something. One interesting fact I learned as I was reading various commentaries on this, when it says, you have opened my ears, the verb here in Hebrew literally means dug out. So it's almost like you've unclogged my ears. You've got all that wax and gunk out of my ears so I can hear. Brilliant. Brilliant way to understand what that really means. Walter Brueggemann is a Hebrew Bible scholar who is still alive. We once in a while have those scholars who are still living. And Brueggemann is brilliant. He's written tons of books about the Hebrew Bible. And he suggests that much of the theology in the Hebrew Bible has to do with this tension between hurt and hope. And he says it's about disclosures of hurt. The experience of hurt is experienced and noticed, voiced, and heard. We've talked a couple weeks ago about naming our fears, about claiming what it is that's bugging us. And then articulations of hope. God accepts the groan from the disclosure of hurt, takes it in, and speaks back as a promise from on high. This is that constant tension between hurt and hope. Hurt and hope. Lord knows we are in a world of hurt, in our world, in our country right now. And I can't even watch the news anymore. It just makes me angry. And anger doesn't help anybody unless it causes us to do something. And I think that's inherent in this tension between hurt and hope. Psalm 40 is one of the many places in the Bible that talks about a new song, or I've created a new thing. This is about transformation, and in Christian Testament terms, resurrection maybe. That once we can deal with the hurt, we can sing a different song, not a woe is me song, but a I've had these troubles, I don't deny that, and you can't deny them because they're always there. But you can have hope for the future. You can look in a different direction and focus on the positive things. For instance, this immigrant welcoming congregation study we're doing is about what can we do. We acknowledge the hurt and the brokenness. What can we do as a congregation to show God's love and compassion in these situations? Yeah. It seems fairly clear to me throughout the Bible that this is the goal. I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined unto me. The early word that we stumbled on, stooped. Yes. He inclined to me. Patience and waiting is an important aspect. I'm really proud. My husband Robert is actually delivering the message at his church this morning. And he's dealing with Psalm 27, and he's focusing on this patience part. And he read the whole thing to me last night. He didn't want to do it. I think educators and say, please, I can't be there, just read it to me. And it really makes sense that this waiting is not a passive thing. It's not about just sitting there saying, well, something's going to happen, what is it? But it's about discernment.
Yes.
It's about looking at all the pieces. Think of it like a jigsaw puzzle. The waiting is trying to figure out which pieces go together. And you have to wait, especially if it's a 5,000 piece puzzle, you have to wait a very long time until it's done. But that kind of patience and waiting is what's really asked of us. And it's very difficult. Let's get that on the table right away. It's hard. But at the same time, it's critical in whatever we do, especially as a congregation, that we have that discernment period. The immigrant welcoming congregation process, in the beginning I thought, well, this will go fairly quickly. And it became apparent to me that's not the best way to approach this. That we need to sit with it. We need to think about what it means to us. We need to express our concerns. We need to ask questions about how will it work, what will it look like. All of those things are part of that waiting patiently. And part of that waiting is remembering the big picture. And I want to play an audio now from an incredible work by Leonard Bernstein and Stephen Schwartz, which was written, I think it was in the 60s. I remember seeing it, might have been in the 70s. It's not a mass in the traditional Roman Catholic sense, but it's an expression, a contemporary expression of religious and spiritual understanding. And this particular song, called A Simple Song, expresses to me that very simple idea that God is love. Sing God a simple song, loud, make it up as you go along, loud, sing like you like to sing. God loves all simple things, for God is the simplest of all. For God is the simplest of all. I will sing the Lord a new song, to praise Him, to bless Him, to bless the Lord. I will sing His praises while I live all of my days. Blessed is the man who loves the Lord. Blessed is the man who praises Him. Love Him, and walks in His ways. I will lift up my eyes to the hills from whence comes my help. I will lift up my voice to the Lord, singing loudly. For the Lord is my shade, is the shade upon my right hand, and the sun shall not smite me by day, nor the moon by night. Blessed is the man I want to leave you with these words from Psalm 40. You put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to you. Many will look on in wonder, and so will put their trust in you. Happiness comes to those who put their trust in God, instead of in human egos or people blind to the truth. One of the things we are all called to do is to share of our own resources. Ushers will receive our morning offering. Let's pray together. Receive our offerings, Holy One, as signs of our dedication to your realm of justice. In your name we will names. Amen. Please be seated. This is a time when we ask what prayers you bring to share with the congregation, prayers of joy or concern. And I'd like to open with a request from Cammie. She's leaving tomorrow, I believe, for Missouri to have a family time with her mother, who is suffering dementia and gradually slipping away from the reality of knowing who is who. So Cammie asked for prayers for safe travel and for good time of interaction with her mother and her family. God of love,
We thank you for your presence.
other prayers. David.
I have a prayer of thanksgiving that my wife was able to get back from Seattle. She spent some time with my cousin who's in stage. And it was good for everybody concerned. But we have tears of sorrow.
David asks prayers of thanksgiving that Kirsten had a safe trip to Seattle to visit with his cousin Carol, who is at the end of her life, and also prays for strength in the time of grieving that actually has already begun. God of love,
We thank you for your presence.
yes.
For all the victims of the flooding in the Midwest, that the Red Cross and other people will help them promptly.
Marge asks prayers for all those who have been dealing with flooding in the Midwest and on the Gulf Coast. Prayers for those who are helping them as well. May they find safe places to be. God of love,
We thank you for your presence.
let's pray together. Gracious and loving God, we pause in this moment to open ourselves to you. You have promised that you will open our ears. We ask now that you open our hearts and take in all of the feelings that we offer to you. We ask for your presence with those we've named aloud, as well as all those that we keep close to our hearts. May they feel your care, your compassion, your ways of being present. And we also ask for courage and strength to be that presence for all those we meet. We pray for those who are suffering at the hands of natural disasters, whether they be earthquakes or fires or floods, tornadoes. Help them find a safe place to be, and also to find a determination to find new places to live or to rebuild so that they can be safe. We ask you we beg you to touch leaders in our country who have chosen to ignore the call to love and compassion in so many different ways, especially on our southern border. May they find a new song, a song that's a positive one, a song that doesn't separate families, a song that doesn't hide people in horrible conditions. Change their hearts, oh God, we beg you. And we will do everything we can to make sure that all those who suffer will be taken care of. We pray for other world leaders that they can find compassion as well and wisdom to understand how we are all connected. Only that kind of understanding can lead to peace. We also pray for those struggling on city streets. They go from place to place trying to find safety and food and shelter and relationship. Help us to be part of all of those things for them. All of this we ask in the name of our brother and teacher, Jesus of Nazareth, who taught us to pray together in these words from the Gospel of Luke. Abba, Father, help us to honor your name. Come and set up your kingdom. Give us peace moment this morning is about Blanchet House in Portland. It was founded in 1852 as a nonprofit located in downtown. They offer breakfast, lunch, and dinner 6 days a week to anyone in need. The nutritious meals are compassionately served by volunteers, and our youth group participated. You'll see some pictures in a moment of some of our youth helping serve at Blanchet House. Thanks to generous financial and food donors able to provide free meals to thousands of people every week. They also have 2 transitional shelter programs for men struggling with addiction, unemployment, mental health, and family issues. And also, there is a farm in Carlton, Oregon, in Yamhill County, that provides a safe place for about 22 men who are also struggling with addiction and the same issues. And they not only learn how to farm, but they learn woodworking there. So Blanchet House is an incredible organization, and here's a brief video.
I feel that I have to give back. What I feel when I come in here is I get to help you, I get to do something, I'm here to help you, what do you need? The guests that are here are so grateful for our help and for a warm meal and a place to come in out of the cold. But what I get out of it when I'm here is it feeds my soul. When I serve someone, I like to let them know that we're all in this together. And I'm actually giving someone a meal and nourishing them and doing one small thing. You know, you see them and you know that this isn't their story. This is not how they started out or where they wanted to be in life. This is not their story.
And here's some pictures of our youth and some from Hood River who shared in volunteering at Blanchet House 2 weeks ago. You'll find announcements on the back of the bulletin. There is the new church directory. If you need a paper copy, it's on the money changers table in Eastminster Hall, as are the quarterly giving statements. So please be sure to pick that up so we don't have to put a stamp on it and mail it. Council and finance, ministry team, and council both meet today at 11:30 and 12. Also, next Sunday there will be a pickup choir, and no, we're not going to all ride in trucks. Anybody who wants to join the choir, meet in the Mariners Room at 9 o'clock. We'll run through the one piece we're going to sing. Even if you've not sung before, come join us. That would be fun. Also, given the, I don't know if it's news, I don't know what it is. It doesn't seem to be accurate no matter what. But the threat of rounding up undocumented immigrants by ICE, we all need to know what immigrants' rights are. And we've seen a couple of different pieces of literature that help us understand that. We produced one, there's about 15 copies of this, and it says things like, do not open doors. ICE cannot come in without a signed warrant. Well, I didn't know that. Yeah. So this is for you if you're an undocumented immigrant, or if you have friends who might be undocumented. So take one. If we run out, we'll make more of them. But It's a convenient little thing. It's in English on one side and Spanish on the other side. And I feel strongly that we need to be involved somehow. And this is one way we can take some small action to help people understand what exactly their rights are. All right, Oktoberfest. Lori's got something to do.
Hello.
Hello.
Oktoberfest 2019. Why am I sitting here in the middle of July talking to you about Oktoberfest? Well, a couple reasons. One, Oktoberfest this year is in September. Believe it or not, only 2 months, about 2 months away, September 21st. And the other is that as I've gotten older, I recognize how fast time seems to fly by. And also how busy the summer is. So I thought I'd just get up here today and let you know about it. In the past, well, always our Oktoberfests are amazing. It's one of the ones that's very near and dear to my heart because of how it brings community together for us. So Kim and I are working together on the committee, and in the past, if you have helped in any way in terms, besides coming, if you have helped with setting up or volunteering with decorating or cooking, or if you made potato salad or any of those kinds of things, we really appreciate it. You were very, very wonderful at what you did, and we'd love it if you do some more. So I'll be at the money changers table if there's room, or if not, in the mariners room with a little sign-up sheet to help refresh folks' memories about what's available to do, and to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thanks. Lori Higgers and Kim Morley are the co-chairs for Oktoberfest. And yes, we've got the accordion guys coming back.
Yes.
All right. Other announcements that need to be made? Yes.
I'm going to put a birthday card for Rodney on the back table.
Okay, birthday. There's a birthday card for Rodney on the money changers table. His birthday's on the 17th. Also, next Sunday we will be rededicating the sanctuary after this amazing renovation, I'm calling it. Sanctuary reno. So that will be part of our service next week, so be sure you're here. All right, I think we're ready to stand and sing our closing song. This is a day of new beginnings. Remember, friends, our worship is concluding, but our service continues because we didn't just go to church.
We are the church.
Go in peace and live in love. Amen.
Amen.